overworked. I mean, I hate to say that, but they
Really?
are. Yeah, I mean, they're working 78 hours a week.
You good?
All right, you're in the corner.
Good, Sharon.
Call to order the Altoona Area School District School Board of Directors meetings Tuesday, September 8th, 2020 at 7:30. If everyone could stand for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we have roll call, please?
Mr. Baker.
Here.
Mrs. Bream.
Here.
Mr. Francis.
Here.
Mr. Hoff.
Here.
Mr. Hoover.
Here.
Mrs. Irwin Adams.
Here.
Mr. Johnston.
Here.
Mr. Cruz.
Here.
Dr. Malloy.
Thank you. We did have an executive session this evening, starting at 6 o'clock for reasons of personnel. Moving along to hearing from citizens. I believe we have a citizen we need to make a phone call to, and we would ask if that citizen is listening to hold your comments to 5 minutes if you could. Thank you.
Before we dial up the citizen, I just want to, there are two additions to the agenda. One will fall under the resolution section. We are asking the board to approve 2 athletic attendance plans for district facilities. One that follows the governor's order for a maximum of 250 people, and the other, which is contingent on legislative action occurring where the district is asking for permission to create its own attendance plan based on a 50% maximum capacity. Also, in your packet is the substitute agreement with ESS to raise the rate during the COVID period of the first 9 weeks to $120 a day. Also, we wanted to make sure there's an end date. I believe there is, but the end date of this, it goes from 8/28, which is last week, to 11/12, which is November 12th, which should encompass the entire first 9 weeks. Thank you.
Could I weigh in on something here before we go to comment? One of the issues we seemed to have last time was with the community members speaking, we had a problem with them giving their address, which, by the way, I don't understand what the problem was, because ever since I've been on the board, people have stood up and gave their address. That was part of the whole process, and those meetings were taped as well. So I'm not sure why we're making that accommodation now where people actually don't have to give their address. Is there an answer to that? I mean, is there a reason we stopped asking for addresses? Because as far as I know, people always gave their address and those meetings were taped. So what's the difference?
I had a member of the public ask me if we could not do that since it was being taped and streamed live nationwide, basically. So that's why I had asked if we could just ask that they state if they're a member of the Altoona School District.
And as far as I knew, we always made them give their address and those were being taped and put out there. So that's just my question. I didn't know what the difference was.
I agree, Ray. You know what? And I never saw why we had to have their address. As
Well, the
long as they were
reason-
residents of Altoona, that's all.
Back some time ago, the reason for the address was to determine that they were actually in the Altoona Area School District. That was my understanding of the reason. And then it was brought up that you didn't want us to do that, and that's fine. I mean, is it a big deal either way, really?
Carl, can we just change that is what I'm asking legally? Is there a requirement that they give their address? And if there isn't, was it just something we came up with?
It's really board discretion as to what the board really wants to do. It's not a legal requirement. You have, as the board chair, she can waive that. But the mere fact that it's being streamed across the United States really doesn't make a difference. You could just say Carl Beard of 6th Avenue, Altoona, Pennsylvania, and that would suffice if they don't want to give the actual address of their home, but you can still say the street. I don't see that as a problem.
I agree. Thank you.
Dial the phone here.
Hello?
Good evening, Mrs. Burns.
Hi.
This is Dr. Priatello. I'm with the school board and school board meeting. We welcome your public comment.
Okay. It's not really a comment. I just have to put my opinion in a very amount of other parents
Sharon.
who are very
Put your microphone.
frustrated, and I'm beyond it, and I'm going to say it straight out. I feel like we all kind of knew that school wasn't going to be a normal situation, and I feel like from the point that they got left out of school last year, it should have been well aware that we probably won't be going back to school. The planning of this stunk really bad, and quite frankly, there's kids that can't even log on to their stuff and they start school tomorrow. There's a last minute situation. How is that fair to parents? And number one, how is that fair to our children? Because, and I don't want no excuses, to be honest with you. I just want to sit there and want you guys to own up to it, that it should have been well planned out, that you guys should have had A, B, C as different scenarios of what's going to happen. And I don't want to hear, well, we have a large school, because it's been a large school since before I was even born. The plan, like, someone needs to step it up, because it's not fair to our children. You want our children to take accountability? You guys need to take accountability that you guys waited till the last minute to figure it out.
Ms. Burns, I would,
In another situation, to a Ron Johnson, I called a couple weeks ago, and I talked to the president of the school board, and I expected a phone call back of an apology, because I take it very personal. Of your comment that you say about being a babysitter for your kids, number one is, I don't expect you guys to babysit my kids, because my kids have been through the ringer and they're more independent than most kids, but theirs is fine. But those comments, for you to sit on a school board and make a comment and not even have the audacity to say, I need to apologize, is not okay.
Am I allowed to comment on that, or you want me to just let it go?
Do you have anything else, Mrs. Burns?
No, but I also sent out an email about low test scores and switching my kids to a different school, and no one emailed me back. So I would like to get the information, because at this point, I'm willing to spend the 8 Gs for each of my kids to go to a different school, because no one's taking accountability in this school district at all. And I'm not the only parent that feels this way.
Mrs. Burns,
Yes.
did you send that email to me?
I sent it to the lady that you addressed me to, that Haley, and I have not gotten an email back ever since that situation.
Did you send it to me?
I sent it to Haley because you directed Haley to me.
Well, I directed Haley to you to deal with one situation, but did you send it to me?
She said, any problems that you have, any problems, I'm here to help you. So I just figured, since you send someone else, because I had plenty, and I have no problems calling you, I have no problems emailing you, I have no problems at all. So I just went to her. At this point, I'm so fed up, and I'm tired of hearing excuses.
Well,
That's like, I'm not trying to be ignorant. It's like my daughter today gonna call me 7 times while I'm at work, because there's no direction on what she's supposed to do. No videos for parents to watch. You have virtual situation. No parents say, oh, this is how this is gonna go, this is go. No communication whatsoever.
Mrs. Burns, we have put as many pieces together as fast as we possibly can. Is it perfect? No. But we are still building pieces left and right to get everything up and running. It's not a matter of 50 or 60 kids needing virtual. It's a matter of 1,000 kids across 12 grades, 13 grades, from K to 12 needing virtual. Actually, more than that if you count the junior high and senior high. But in the elementary school, we easily have 600 or 700 children in virtual. The situation with, if you experience a situation in the upper grades, we need to address that and we need to streamline that out and solve it. But the junior high kids were in today. So they were in today getting all that information you're talking about face to face.
Yes, and I appreciate that point, but my daughter was handed at her Chromebook situation a schedule, and nothing else was communicated besides make sure that you log in and at this date and this date. So she contacted me talking about I had no assignments to do for periods 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'll just wait, Mom. I'm sorry. And I'm sitting here having my boss up my butt because I'm on the phone 24/7.
We will look into that because well, first of all, the kids who came in today, obviously they were getting walked through their Chromebook and getting set up for the 9 weeks.
Yes,
Obviously,
my son was one of them. My son is a junior high. He got everything. I asked him today after I picked him up from football. I said, how does school go? He goes, I think I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. So I appreciate that part. But at the same time, it's like parents are lost. There's no communication. And I'm not trying to be ignorant to you guys. There hasn't been communication for a long time.
We've been sending out, probably in the last week, we put out at least five alerts to all parents regarding what the status of things that are going on. If I can ask you a question, what grade is your other child in? I know you have 3 children.
Yes, I have 3 children. My daughter's in 9th, my one's in 7th, and my other one is going into 5th grade, and he has no idea what's going on. He got no information, he knows his teacher, but he has no idea where he's going.
Okay, well, the elementary school starts tomorrow, but I'm going to be honest with you, that's the one that's taken the most time to build, and hopefully we'll have everything in good shape by tomorrow. But if not, please email me, and I'll be able to give you an update, because the process.
Okay, well, I'm just hoping that in the long run that you guys make it, like, I'm not trying to be ignorant. I don't want to hear excuses. That's like me making excuses for 100 different reasons why I'm messed up or my kids are messed up. I'm not making excuses no more. The bottom line of it is, like, we knew from last year that this was probably going to be an option. So you guys should have been laying it out a little bit before August 1st.
Well, we have been putting the pieces together all summer long. It's just the scale of which this is huge, and we're still putting pieces together. And a lot of things were unforeseeable, and we've been building it, and we've been getting things to work. I apologize if there are issues, but we are doing everything we can to rectify them as fast as possible. If you go to the district website, there is a link to all the virtual instruction. There's also a link or a widget on all of the individual school web pages to link to the virtual instruction, and it will lay out all the information for all the kids so they can access, kids and parents, so they can access what they need to access. Also, contacting the teachers will speed up the process, because if they can't immediately log on, they can get the rest of if they need a password or they need some kind of access login, they'll be able to get that directly from their virtual teacher. But a lot of these pieces were still being put in place as of Friday last week and as of today.
Well, but I'm not trying to be ignorant, because I'm going to be straightforward. Like, again, there's 1,000 excuses when it should have been happening. When June 4th, when the kids were left out from last year, when it was a hot mess too, you guys should have had some type of situation. Be like, we need to be on top of it. You guys aren't on top of it, and it's okay. It's okay to admit, like, you know what? We're not on top of it. It's okay. It's okay to admit that you're wrong. And it's okay that you say, hey, we could have done something else, or it could have been done a little bit faster, or done it in a better, better way for you to have parents know what the heck's going on. But you know what? I realized today that you're not going to take accountability. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, I have 3 kids who are not the perfect kids, but I'll still make sure that they take accountability for everything that they do, because that's a stand-up person. And I just know what I'm dealing with at this moment.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Barnes.
Just want to say, sometimes I choose my words differently than others. That's me. But I would never do anything to hurt a kid, a parent, or a teacher. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ron.
Sorry, can I interject here? I do think that maybe we need to, I know that we talked about this, but have some form of communication where the parents should be directed if their kids haven't gotten communication as of today for any of their periods. Should they go to the principal? Should they go to the teacher?
Well,
Who should they
They should
contact?
go right to their virtual teacher because they
Okay.
should know who their virtual teacher is. If they don't know who their virtual teacher is, then they should be going right to the principal. Or they need to contact Haley Flegel because she's been coordinating all the virtual aspects and putting all the pieces together. We have been training, and Ron talks about the different trainings we've been putting together, but just getting a vehicle for the K2s. So we had something that would be accessible to all the K2 virtual students, and training everybody on Seesaw has been a major layout of time and effort to make that happen.
I'm not
Just a lot of
questioning,
pieces.
my kids all had communication from their teachers. I'm just, for the parent that says they didn't have communication from 4 teachers today, I think we need to advise them on where to go.
Right, and then first thing you need to do is contact the principal, because they should have had classes today, and it should not have been a blank. And we'll look into the issues and we'll resolve that and get it moving.
And can I quickly weigh in on this? This is a situation that is being dealt with daily, weekly, on a nationwide basis. This isn't local. This isn't just a local issue. As a matter of fact, we just had a meeting a little while ago to decide exactly which path we were going to take, and that passed 5-4. So that had the administration scrambling at that point as well. No excuses. If we do something wrong, we will own up to it. At this point, we're trying to do our very best to educate the students of the Altoona Area School District. And I've seen the efforts put forth by the teachers, by the administrators, and also by the board members to try to make this the very best situation we can for the students of this area. That's it.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, moving along. A special presentation by Reynolds.
Mike?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll apologize in advance. My audio hasn't been great. It's a little choppy, but I'm going to share my screen real quick. And pull up the presentation. Similar format as we've done in the past. We'll just talk a bit about the schedule, financials, considerations, and we have some photographs for you as well. Overall, as far as the field house is concerned, we're now working on the balance of the addition now that the bridge, the old bridge is down. That work will continue till the end of the year. The new high school building, what we refer to as Building B, second and third floors are nearing completion. Punch list work is continuing. We have finishes moving forward on the first floor, the main lobby. Finishes are nearing completion. Site work is continuing. The base for the parking lot is complete. We've installed the planters and the sidewalks are about 8% complete as well. So overall, we're looking to get a occupancy permit for Building B towards the end of the month. On the field house renovation, we are looking to get our occupancy permit. Our inspection is happening later this week. The renovations on the third floor. Science labs are nearing completion and completing miscellaneous work in the corridors. So things are moving along. As far as the financials are concerned, this is the matrix we've been providing as we update. As you can see, we're still running to the good as far as an overall variance when you take into account the budget, the actual bid results, the contingency versus what the change orders are to date. And you run that out and we're still running about $1.4 million to the good. As far as the billings are concerned, we've paid out 68 million of the 74 million. So we've got, roughly $6 million to go to finish up. A lot of that is going to be the demolition and the new turf field and any miscellaneous work that is finishing up. And again, you can see where we are with the contingency and the change orders. As far as schedule is concerned, obviously we've been fighting the COVID situation. The district acted very promptly when the issue occurred in March. However, a lot of the supply chain issues, domino effect was in place. Some materials got delayed because Manufacturing plants were shut down. We've tried to manage that the very best we can. The contractors have done the best that they can do, and we've pushed the thing forward. So overall, in pretty good shape. As I mentioned, again, we're looking to have full occupancy towards the end of September for all both Building A and Building B. Student education obviously has been altered because of COVID. I think we mentioned it last time. You know, we're obviously willing to do any virtual student ed that you might be interested in to help the students stay engaged in our program. However, we realize that there's a lot of other items on everyone's plate right now, but we're just we're obviously willing to do whatever we need to do in that realm. Some photographs here. You can see the lobby area, second floor lobby, some of the finishes that are going on there. Here is the lobby terrazzo and the band room. We've got the miscellaneous corridors coming to a completion. Got the common areas. This is the LGI Commons and the applied engineering space. Here is the CNC lab in the wood shop. In many of the spaces on the second and third floor, furniture is being moved in. Teachers' materials are being moved in, so things are moving along in that regard. Stage rigging, a very complicated system, is nearing completion. You can see the clouds in the auditorium, getting ready to prepare for the delivery and installation of the auditorium seating. Some shots from the outside. You can see the sidewalks and some of the landscaping beds getting ready. The parking lot area, we now have what's called the binder course down. All of the concrete curb work and the islands are in. You can see the planters that are being formed, ready to be poured shortly. And then, of course, the demolition of the existing building and some of the shots there as we move forward. So again, I'll apologize if I cut out a little bit during all of that. Again, my audio gets a little choppy, but any questions? Gary Marshall is also on the phone as well.
Well, I believe I heard you say that you should have an occupancy permit by the end of the month. Does that mean we can start putting students in that building on October 1st?
Yeah, I'm sorry, my audio cut out. Could you repeat that question, please?
I believe I heard you say that you should have an occupancy permit for the building, well, both buildings, by the end of this month. Does that mean we can start putting students in that building on October 1st?
Yeah, Gary, you can comment on those dates. I believe, again, we're looking at later this week for Building A, and Building B is scheduled for late in September. Gary, can you confirm that?
Yes, we haven't scheduled Building B yet. We're still a little bit of ways away from that. We do have the temporary occupancy for A building scheduled for Thursday morning. And then that depends on the inspector as far as what he finds that we may have overlooked or not completed yet. So I don't see a problem with getting the certificate for A building at the end of this week. But B building, that's our target date, is what we're shooting for, is the 28th of September. But that's still up in the air. As you mentioned earlier, we're still facing some supply and delivery issues. So I wouldn't set that in stone at this point.
What supply and delivery issues?
The locker paint, the painter has been running all over the state trying to find enough. We've had some electrical items that we're having trouble getting, common items that shouldn't be an issue. But like Mike said, a lot of the manufacturers were shut down and they were backed up. And then some of the manufacturers in Florida and California, where their case counts have been extremely high, and Texas, have shut back down or cut way back. So they are constantly playing catch up. And for the most part, they are sending out their orders in the order that they were received. So it's kind of a mixed bag of items.
Who's the actual clerk of works for this project? Is that you, Gary?
Yeah, we are the construction managers, yes.
Okay, who's doing the punch list?
The architect and engineers are listing the punch list, and then we are checking it as it is done.
Is it possible for any of the board members to go through to check just look at some of the things that you guys approved? Not that we're gonna question, but just to see it?
Yeah, we can make arrangements for that, but it'd be a little bit premature at this point. That'd be better served later on. Another 3 or 4 weeks.
3 or 4 weeks?
Yes, sir.
And when did you say the kids will be in school in 5 weeks?
That's dependent on the code enforcer. He can get us a temporary certificate to put teachers in and allow them to set up their classrooms to teach virtual. If we bring the students in, that adds another layer to it. And we just did get a new inspector for the city of Altoona. So we're still trying to see his personality and what he's going to dig in on. Lots of times it's a code interpretation between the architect and engineers and the code official. So again, that's a little premature right now at this point for B building.
It's fine. I thought the original date to be in was the end of September. I thought that was gonna, maybe I misunderstood.
No, that's what,
Constantly.
yeah, that's what we're shooting for still. We're shooting for September 28th for B building. But again, at this time, it's changing daily. We're making a lot of progress. Everybody's still going full steam ahead. We're running between 100 and 130 guys a day on site right now. But
So you're suggesting we go in, the board members, if they want to go in for a look-see for 2 or 3 more weeks?
yes, I think that'd be prudent.
All right, thank you.
Well, 3 more weeks is the end of September. That's when it should be completed, according
Well-
to the original statement.
We could easily, Ed, do you know off the top of your head, the facility meeting night?
I do know. Ain't it Thursday this week?
Is it this week?
No, it's not. So there are 2 in October.
Eric's the head of it.
Yes.
When is it, Eric?
Because we could set something up on a Thursday. And
There's not a facility scheduled for September, according to my schedule.
November 29th.
30 days back.
Because
Okay,
the
I-
reason that I bring this up, we have parents and students that need to get back in those buildings. And it is vitally important that we get that done. I mean, we are hearing from parents all the time, this virtual and cyber learning is not what they want. They want face-to-face teacher learning. So, you know, first you say the end of September, and now you're saying multiple weeks that would definitely go past that time. We would like something more concrete.
I understand, but I can't give you that at this point on the B building. As I said, things are changing daily and where everybody's going as hard as we can. But certain things have to fall in place. Life safety is the big thing that's going to drive the certificate of occupancy. And I understand that students need to be in there and we're doing our best to get them there.
I have a question. Sorry, I wish I could rewind on the slide. What are we looking at for completion of A? What do we still need to do in the A building for completion?
Well, for total completion, we have to finish the bridge and that runs into December, the end of the year. Right now, we're putting ceilings back in the corridors and finishing up locker painting. So again, we can get a temporary, I believe. At this point, we had an inspection last Thursday. We reviewed some things that need to be taken care of, and we have him scheduled again for Thursday morning. And hopefully we can receive it at that time for A building. But we are not done. Obviously,
Are the classrooms finished in A for the most part?
The classrooms are pretty much finished. We're still waiting on some casework. We have some sinks and some other items that have to come in. There's a change order in here dealing with sinks.
But basically, we're not going to be into school until the end of the year because if the bridge isn't done.
No, the bridge will not stop us from putting kids in it.
So you're not going to change classes?
Oh, they'll still be able to get across the bridge because there's a temporary wall being put up right now. So they'll be able to tear that wall down. They just won't have that double wide hallway connecting the buildings. They'll have one width of hallway till they get to the bridge and then it'll open up. So
I have friends who are working in there, told me they'd be surprised if we're in before December, so.
I have a question because I got some reports that some of the science labs still had like old cabinets and broken drawers. Are those going to be taken care of?
Not under contract.
That's what?
Not under the contract. A lot of the casework in the science labs was existing to remain.
Right. If there's a casework issue in the science lab, we'll have to take care of that outside the contract.
Okay.
Okay, now this bridge issue, you make a statement, the end of September, we should have occupancy. Now you're saying their paint or something's going to hold it up, but if you don't have a full occupancy permit, we cannot put students in there, can we?
Yes, ma'am. The bridge extension on the A building, there is a temporary wall going up to allow us to continue our work while the building is occupied. Okay, and the painting can be done nights and weekends once we put students back in the building. So we are wrapping up what work we need now in order to get the occupancy. But that is strictly up to the inspector, and whenever he says we can get it, we can get it.
So you don't know that we can get an occupancy permit prior to December that would allow students in the buildings?
I see us being able to put the students in the building. That's not going to be the issue. My concern is completion of the building and having it ready for kids. It's one thing for them to say we can occupy it because we're still going to have to go in and clean it and take care of a whole bunch of other things to get it ready for kids. That's not going to take a long time, but it's going to have to be dealt with. The other issue we're having is putting kids in that building prior to the end of the 9 weeks may not be physically possible for us to deliver education that we need to. And we're working on that issue right now. Right now, we're trying to get them into school, but the next step is what happens at the end of the first 9 weeks. And I know everybody wants to bring the seniors back, wants to bring the seniors and the juniors back, but we've got to be able to deliver all the virtual and all the cyber and all the other pieces to make that happen.
I want to bring them all back.
That's what I just said. I want to bring.
It's not just
everyone
seniors and juniors, but we need the space to do that. And what I'm seeing on that screen right now is not encouraging.
Oh, that's the demo. Yeah.
I get it.
It's still not encouraging. It kind of looks like the Coliseum after a really bad day.
Yeah, I think one thing to note is that the overall project always extended into this school year in certain areas. So when Gary speaks of a temporary occupancy, this was always part of the plan. The difficulty has been the delays with COVID and just trying to figure out how to carve this out so that we can get the inspector through and allow us to occupy the building. But I think things will come into focus over the next week and a half or so. I think, Gary, it makes sense to try to schedule a board walkthrough in the next couple of weeks. I think there's enough areas that.
Lost you.
Work and provide comment occupancy. I think that would make sense.
Okay, I will work with Dr. P and we'll set out a date and make sure it's good for everybody.
Now I'd like to look at something like the 17th, which is next Thursday.
Okay.
So we'll take a look at that. This will be 6 o'clock on the 17th, but we'll firm that up after I talk with Gary and we'll get the schedules together. All right, that's a week from this coming Thursday. My calendar skills are still with me. Okay? Can you go over the change orders, Gary?
Yes, sir. Okay, we have one for electrical change order 80. That's to provide wiring and conduit for minimum 6 circuits as per the response to an RFI. As for the contract documents, when we were taking the existing panel offline in the natatorium area, we discovered there were 6 circuits that weren't dedicated, they weren't identified. And as we got into it, we realized that they needed to remain. They were not shown on the contract documents. So that is under a unit price and that is allowance. COR EC 100 was per an ASI, architect supplemental instruction, revised the in-wall rough end for TV and speaker locations due to shifting around panels, display boards to avoid conflicts with the HVAC return air ducts. This was in the orchestra B101 and chorus B102. COR EC 110 was per owner request, apparently there was some discrepancy between the district and the architect about the casework in the existing casework to be reused in the music area. And once we got that furniture over there and started placing it, we realized there was conflict with some data drops and power receptacles. And then the last one was for PC 52. And I believe I sent a long explanation. There's an email thread that came from the architect and engineer and the plumbing contractor. There were 6 art room sinks that would not fit in the casework as they thought it was going to, due to just normal variances in construction. And those are a special order sink and they are fairly pricey, but we do have enough in the allowance for the plumber to cover this with a balance also.
Any questions on the change order?
Well, do we need a motion in a second? Can we get a motion
Get a motion in a second.
for the change orders?
Do a motion on change orders, we can discuss it.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, now I need discussion.
Yes, I got a question, so.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wasn't here. It was everybody's name.
That's Mike Arnold.
Mike, hey, Mike, Ron Johnson, I know it's coming close to crunch time. I'm speaking for myself and the community. Make sure all the screws are in, all the nails are in. You know, we want it done right. No cutting corners. Looks good so far. Thanks for everything. The school, from time to time, I'll go over the church steps and watch the school coming down. That old girl wasn't ready to come down. There was hours and a couple hours on some of them beams, and that was really sad for me to watch that coming down the classrooms, you know, being walking through there, the boardroom and et cetera. But it was sad to see her go. So we got to move on, and what's done is done. But I'm all for going for the school. 6 o'clock sounds like a safe time for us to go through. That's all I got. Thank you.
Change order 289. Why is the amount more than what the unit prices are?
Let me get to my change order list. Which change order was that, Eric?
That'd be for the labor material to install power and outlets in the music theory room. So when I look at the unit prices, I come up with 5350 and the change orders for 5746.
I thought we agreed it would be the unit price.
Okay, due to the distance limitations on the unit price, it was for around 75 feet, I believe, is what that unit price included. So instead of 3 receptacles, we had to figure 6 because the distance was around 150 feet. So that kind of changed the unit pricing a little bit.
Okay. And then I have a question for Camilla. On the change orders, does the architect get his 5.7% on change orders? But do they get it on the allowance?
I think that's Susan.
The allowances were in the fixed contract now, so yes, they would get their percentage on the allowances, but not the change orders. In fact, they do the engineering or the drawings or whatever the correct terminology is for free on all the change orders.
Correct. If we move change orders to allowances, if it's an architectural screw up, they're getting 5.7% on their screw ups, like these sinks. Correct?
Yeah.
I mean, Carl, did you look at this contract?
I did.
I mean, why would we approve something like that?
But the contract is based, the allowances are part of the contract.
But if we move stuff to, we have an allowance, say, I don't know what the electrical, 800,000. All the architect gets paid 5.7% on 800,000.
Whatever that allowance we spend, he's going to get a part of, yes.
Right, but we're putting screw ups from the architect into that allowance.
Well,
We should have never had the allowance, then we would never paid for any of this stuff, other than owner requested change orders.
well, all I know is anything that is a change order or anything that's an error, we had agreed way back, probably about 8, maybe 10 months ago, that we would have a running tab of who owed what back to the folks that have a reconciliation.
But what
There was a
Eric's,
running tab.
Right, but right now we have stuff in allowance and we have stuff in, that we're paying not in allowance, but it's still architectural errors and omissions, and some of it's coming out of the allowance.
Well, here's my question. I thought the facilities committee wanted us to use the allowances up, and that was the instruction I was given. We could take these out of the change order fund and there wouldn't be the 5.5%. But that's, the thing is, their fee is still based on, their fee is still based on 5% of the contract. And the allowances are in the contract.
Right.
but if we don't use them, they don't get them.
Yeah, if we did, yeah, correct, if we don't use the allowance.
The owner initiated the change orders and pay it.
Right,
If it got flipped, I didn't flip it.
can we do that?
I'll have to sit down and talk
Like-
to Mike Arnold.
Like, for instance, there's 400 hours of electrical journeyman work. He's getting paid just to put that one item in the bid, no work, other than saying 400 hours electrical foreman. So he's getting paid 800 or 400 hours times that rate times 5.7% for minimal work that covers his ass on the job.
If these guys, it's a little hectic between now and Friday,
I'm just saying, before we agree to before we pay the architect these final fees, I think we need to look at all this.
Right, I think we need to stop paying them until we look at all of it.
Sounds like it's double dipping.
It is. And that's why I said from the start with this allowance, this isn't good.
So we paid him, the architect, 6.2 million so far, and he's getting this added extra 10.
Well, I thought we were told originally that he doesn't make any money on change orders. The architect doesn't.
No, he doesn't. The
But he
engineers
does. He's
don't.
making 5.7%.
No, but these are allowances. They're not change orders. That's what,
That's what
that's what Eric's saying.
I see.
And I was instructed by the facilities committee to burn up the allowances, so I was putting them in the allowances.
You were, because like Eric said originally, it's kind of, it isn't illegal, but it's illegal to have those allowances there.
So do you want me to take them out of the change orders or want me to take them out of the allowance?
I would recommend having a conference call with Mike and Gary, Dr. Prietel, if Eric, Ed, Ron wants to get in, I think we should do it early next week.
Should we table this motion then?
No,
These are okay. I mean, I think we're okay with this.
These are minimal.
Okay.
If that's, then you can.
And I guess the other question I had is, I
And
mean,
we
I'm
need
just
to
getting
order-
these, I just got this contract 2 weeks ago. This is the first time I was seeing these, the contract from KCBA. And the other thing is the civil fee. Do we pay extra on that civil fee above the contract?
To ease?
Yes.
Yes.
So EADS designs this
See?
in addition to what KCBA is getting. And then KCBA gets the 5.7% off of what EADS designed. That should have been in with the contract.
You can sit down with all of the agreements and take a look. I actually made close to 30 pages of changes to this agreement.
It just seems like we're paying EADS to do this. We paid EADS to do the civil work extra. And then KCBA gets 5.7% on the work they did.
This says change order.
No, I think that's on one of the other pages for additional services.
He's talking about soft costs.
And that was, we paid EADS 164,000 to do the design. And then KCBA took 5.7% on the construction of that they weren't part of the design for. EADS was.
I don't know if you looked at all the documents all at one time.
I'm saying, I think before we go and authorize final payments to the architect, I think we really need to look at this and see.
I don't have a problem.
Okay.
Can we vote on these change orders so we can move them forward? Because we need to get the sinks in and finish the job.
Right.
Should we move forward? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, we need to go back to 401 resolutions.
Yes.
Now, these resolutions have to do with COVID. One is from the Beard Legal Group. It's regarding getting our students back in school. And the other one also has to do with responsibilities under COVID-19. Can I have a motion and a second?
And can we add the attendance to that, the athletic attendance to that?
Oh, I was going to add that on down here. We have,
Okay,
yeah,
sorry, you're
yes. Okay. A motion and a second?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Or any
Aye.
questions? I'm
Oh.
sorry, questions or comments? I'm sorry. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is public library change order. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, comments, concerns?
Yeah, at least we got something on them. It's a oil stain here, and the sun will bleach that out, and it's better than what they were gonna give us. And we got an extra year warranty on them, so.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Finance, St. Mary's parking lease, it's been revised. We did vote on that before, but now it is revised. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, concerns?
Can you tell, I was looking through it, but I don't know what the revisions are.
Go ahead.
So in the original lease, it called for 16 spaces. There are 16 regular spaces and 2 visitor spaces. So St. Mary's required us to give a list of the people. Well, I gave a list of 18. And they said, well, we're only charging you for 16 and they want for those other 2 spaces. If you decide not to, we'll pull 2 people and put them on the street or over at the CTC.
I just wanted to know. Thank you.
So how much is it going up for 2 more spots?
$40 a month. Each spot is $20.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And I'm going to take the next 2 together in finance. Contracted substitute teachers for ESS and addendum ESS contract. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion, comments?
I had a question. How much do we actually pay ESS for this service?
They get 30, is it 30% or 31%? It's 30.
Here's the
29.9% markup. So what was our expense last year? We can get that for you.
Okay.
You can run the numbers. I know I did get them to put on a full-time employee to run our school district based on the fact that it's not a small amount. I want to say over $200,000 in fees for the year prior.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, policy, Altoona School District policy, final reading for Altoona School District Police Department firearms, police use of force, and social media. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Rick, can you second?
Second.
Okay. Comments, questions?
Yes, Madam President, if I can, I was at this policy meeting on August 10th. It was well attended by staff. Going over there, some policies we go over, it's like half hour, some are an hour. I want to ask the board, and I don't want to make the decision right now, but think it over for a few weeks on having a committee, a policy committee on the police force for security. Security anymore in school, And I made this comment a few years ago. You never knew cameras to be in a school. You never knew your security to have guns. I believe this is a time now where security is going to be an issue that needs to be looked into. It's sad the way the world is going. If the board decides they want to have a committee, I would suggest Dr. Green tell me with Billy, see if you want to have maybe once a year, twice a year, just to go over and see how things are going, just to make sure the kids are safe, the teachers are safe, we're all safe.
Is this something you want outside the policy committee, or you want this to be part of the policy committee?
Something outside the policy committee, if I may. There would be a security committee, or if someone has a better
School
word.
safety.
Safety, I like that, safety committee. It'd be something new if someone wants to do it, or I don't, just have some ideas.
I did read these policies. They are very detailed.
Very
detailed.
We spent a good hour, 15 minutes, hour and a half, like going over these, and Billy explained, what was needed and what was done. It's, I'm saying, we're in a different time now, and we just want to make sure everyone here in the district is safe. So you'd be welcome to all who would want to attend. So just something in the near future, Madam President, right now.
Do we have much leeway in what this policy says? Is this mostly handed down by Department of Education?
These policies can be tweaked. They come down from PSBA, and we've had tweaked policies, and Dr. Prientel added some, there's.
But do we have wiggle room in policies regarding the police officers?
It's pretty well set.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I would say so, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And any changes that are made, like on the state or federal level, would have to be incorporated in our policy. We wouldn't really have a choice.
Oh my gosh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's something we can definitely discuss moving
No,
forward.
it's, I'd say once a year, twice a year, get ready for football games, wrestling matches, sporting events, graduation.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, education. Student teaching agreement, secondary music ensembles, and secondary ACA-related services positions. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Personnel. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any questions, concerns? I see Mr. Shields is retiring, and wish him well. He's been here for a while, and we hate to see him go. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Madam President, I'd like to say we had an extra long executive session, and administration and staff are us and really trying hard to get this going.
Oh, yes.
It's tough.
Yes, it is. Okay, where are we? Business operations, STA bus drivers, and capital reserve list of payments. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, under that same title, we have parent transportation contracts. We have summer food service program and transportation fee waiver. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. The summer food program, extending that till the end of the year. I was a little bit confused on that.
Susan?
Similar to what we did in March or started in April, they extended the summer food service program, which basically lifts the restrictions and offers free food to everybody. So the USDA offered that to all districts throughout the state of Pennsylvania. So it kind of loosens some of the restrictions and some of the requirements, and the food that we're serving to kids gives us the ability to serve kids that are being educated in virtual and cyber options is basically.
Okay, that's who it's mostly going to apply to because our in-persons.
It will also allow all the kids that are attending face-to-face in the buildings to eat for free. So we'll be able to offer free food to basically every student, every child in the district.
Oh, well, that's nice. Very good. Thank you.
And that's coming from the federal program. So it's not coming out of our pocket from the standpoint, we're not looking at running a deficit, et cetera.
I am anticipating we will run a deficit under this program because we're at full staff, which was different than what we did from April through the end of August. We only had limited staff, but because we have full staff in all of our buildings, because most of our buildings are full, in addition to the staff, we'll need to prepare the meals to distribute to the virtual and cyber students. I'm anticipating about a $30,000 deficit in that fund at the projected numbers I have. Now, if we serve more meals, then we'll probably make break even.
Understand that last year's summer food, not this summer past, but the previous summer food program, we ran about $140,000 in the red, and we had to make that up over the year. So being $30,000 upside down by Christmas, with the ability to make it up through spring, we should be in very good shape.
And again, I'm a conservative accountant by heart. I just can't help myself. So I estimated about 3,700 kids a day we would serve, but we're going to have 3,600 kids in our classrooms. So hopefully my numbers are low, and if we get higher numbers, then we'll break even.
So do people sign up the same way that they did through the summer?
Yes, with the board approvals tonight, then I'll put the reservation form out on the internet tomorrow, and we'll start serving next week.
But the students that are in school, person-to-person learning, they're going to get a free lunch.
Yes,
Okay.
and breakfast.
And breakfast.
Both meals.
Okay. Any more questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
If I may, I also want to make comments so that the public is aware. We're running 2 Walker buses for the junior high, and the board has just approved us waiving the Walker fee for those parents who are concerned about the buck each direction. So thank you to the board for that.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome. Okay, moving on. Facility request. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any questions?
So, Madam President, this is elementary. It's going to use this, AFL,
AFL and BG.
BG, okay.
There's 2 in there.
AFL is elementary, okay, thank you.
And they're under the same laws with the amount of spectators.
BG has the same restrictions we do. So what the board passed actually helps them also.
But does the AFL?
AFL should be following the same for the 250. They should be following that 250 limitation unless it changes. If it changes then they'll have the same flexibility that we do.
Okay.
Which it has been changing.
Well, it's all been changing,
Yeah.
and it's like, is it going to change? When's it going to change? Who's going to change it?
Let's hope it changes for the better.
Absolutely.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Under new business, we have resolutions, and we are going to add a resolution, which is the one Dr. Prietel is talking about.
For the stadium capacity, yes.
Correct. So we actually have just 2.
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any comments, concerns?
This motion will include the addendum. Because you have the motion for the minimum number of spectators. That's a separate motion, resolution that goes to, we'll send that to the governor. But likewise, we want this addendum in place so that regardless of what, depending on what happens at the Harrisburg level, legislative, we will be able to.
Okay, so this
To
is the
maximize
third
our
one,
fans.
the
Yes.
addendum.
Right,
Okay,
that's the third.
okay. Any questions, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, memorandum of understanding. And, well, we'll take that one separate, which is two agreements with the AASD union.
Yes.
Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second? I'll second it. Any questions, comments?
Somebody just explain that to me.
Quite
Just real
simply,
quick.
because of construction and because of moving all these people around, we have locked them out of vacation time, big blocks of vacation time, and their ability to take their vacation. They had till December 1st. We were asking the board to extend that and agree to an MOU to extend that up to July, is it June 30th or June 31st, whatever the last day of June is, correct?
So personal day is June 30th, 2021, vacation day is December 31st, 2021.
Right, because if they don't use it by a certain point, they lose them. But because COVID and because of the fact of all the things we've been doing, we haven't allowed them to take them because we're trying to get ready to get school started and get everything where it needed to be.
And these were people that they were working the whole time. We weren't paying them to sit at home.
Some of them were working the entire time. Yes, the majority of them were custodians, et cetera. The other ones, there is a thing with the personal days coming from the ASME cafeteria workers section, which she couldn't take the personal day and now she's going to lose it because there was no way to take the personal day because she didn't have to come in.
Yeah, but that's,
Isn't that kind of a personal day?
yeah. We paid her more than one day. and
One of the reasonings behind this whole thing was we looked at the total cost to the district of those days versus what it would cost if it went to arbitration. And just the handful of people that are eligible for it that would actually be able to make use of it is significantly less than what it would cost for us if we had to take it to the grievance level. So.
And the perfect attendance, they won't know receiving $150 and they're just getting that personal. So that's
Right. And then the cost is, it saved us money because they could have grieved not getting the stipend kicker and the personal day. This way they'll get their personal day, but they won't get the cash because the cash is worth twice as much as the personal day is.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The next one is Presidential Executive Order Payroll Tax Deferral. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Comments, questions?
I have a question. How do we know that it won't be forgiven? And if it is forgiven, how are we going to handle that at that point?
I think they've already said it's not going to be forgiven. We're not doing this where I work either because
I know, but this latest payroll protection thing, I don't know if you've heard that, up to 150,000 now, they're not going to make you fill out the forms. And
right.
so they've changed that. So I'm just asking, how are we know? And if it does change, how are we going to handle that? Because then the people are going to want their money.
The problem is you're going to give them a break this year and then
I
you're
know
going
you have to pay it back, but if the
double it.
government says you don't have to pay it back, then what?
But what happens?
You have to pay double. That's
We understand that. But what happens if that employee isn't here anymore?
Well,
The
I know.
employer
I
has to
agree.
pay half, you know that. The
Right.
employer pays half and the
And you're going to
employee
have to
pays
cover
half.
it, right?
I mean, you could really get into a problem. I don't know anyone that's doing that.
I was just wondering what happens if the government says, hey, we're going to forgive it. And then do we have to pay all that money Or would the government have to, because we're paying it in anyhow?
Yeah, the government has the money.
Okay.
I mean, they're the ones in
So it would be
possession
up
of
to
the
them
money.
to square up.
I would think so,
Okay.
but it's not a good thing.
No, I didn't think it was either, but,
I mean, temporarily it is when you're getting that money, but when you have to pay it back, that's when.
and it
people-
is, it's up to the employer if they want to do it.
Correct. That is correct.
Okay.
Yes. Any other questions?
So just for clarification, a yes vote here is to not participate the way
Yes.
it's worded.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Yes.
We're recommending not to do it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And the last one is the Prater Money Map.
Incentives, yes.
If you want to maybe go over that.
We have put in place Prater. Basically, we have created a low-cost options, local low-cost options, supporting the Independent Physicians Association, the Surgical Center. We have an agreement with Nason. We have an agreement with Penn Highlands and a few other local providers like Tyrone. And then the next step is to incentivize employees to make use of these services because it represents a significant discount and savings to the district. And so blood work, if they were to go to LabCorp, blood work, they would get $25 back. We're saving significantly more than that. If they go to urgent care versus the emergency room, again, we're saving significantly. Imaging, CT scans, not x-rays, but CTs, MRIs, et cetera. If they go to 611, again, a half to a third of what it would cost if they went to the hospital. Outpatient surgeries, if they go to the Independent Surgery Center, if they go to Nason, it's $200. It's a $200 reward and or whatever you want to call it. It's a reward. It's a payback or incentive to do that. It saves thousands of dollars because Nason and Surgery Center are significantly less expensive for outpatient surgeries. So anybody who goes to the University Ortho, which is part of the Independent Physicians Association, now they have an incentive to go to University Ortho. It saves us significant dollars to the district, and in turn, they get top drawer service, and it reduces our cost basis.
And staff's aware of everything.
Yes, we're finalizing putting it together. We've introduced it. Staff needs to be aware, do not throw away your Wisely card because that's how you'll get paid. The next step is the Prater card, which should be coming, right?
The Wisely card is the Prater card.
The Wisely card is the Prater card, but the other thing is, what about the money map is being driven off the GR code, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're working out the finalized pieces. We did present it Friday, a week and a half ago, and we're finalizing getting all the information out to the staff.
And then you'll have another little meeting on this, or?
I am definitely hoping to, yes, once we get all the pieces together.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Any committee chair reports? Anyone have anything they want to discuss?
Yes, Frank Malloy. We'd like to have a finance committee meeting, and we tentatively have it scheduled for Tuesday, September 15th. It's going to be contingent. Sue's been trying to get in touch with people from Portnoy, and I don't know about any of you, but I know I've had several calls from citizens concerned about Portnoy, and we just need to get an update on their fees and how this is working for the district and our citizens. So we should be getting the information from Portnoy and a notice out about the finance committee.
Can we get a representative from Portnoy to come and speak to us?
That's what he was saying. I reached out to them Friday morning and haven't heard back. I'm guessing they're out of town for the holiday, so I expect to hear back from them shortly and confirm that date.
Because I too have been getting some phone calls and I keep hearing about lawsuits, and I went online and there have been some lawsuits filed against them, and they were not victorious in all of them. And I mean, I think it's something we have to look at.
Are we looking at 6 o'clock on the 15th?
We do 7.
What?
Can we do 7?
7?
Yeah.
That's if you get a hold of these people, right?
Right.
Okay.
Also for education, we're looking at September 21st at 5 o'clock
That works.
prior to our exec session and board meeting, if everyone's okay with that, jamming it all into one night.
That's fine.
So what time would that be?
5 o'clock
o'clock.
on the 21st.
That's 2 weeks away.
Anyone else? Board President's report. I know we welcome some students back just for one day today to get their information so they can start their virtual learning. And hopefully that went well. And tomorrow we're going to welcome back 1st through 5th graders. And I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of confusion, but I'm just hoping and praying everything turns out fine and we have no issues. And then I guess on Thursday, we're going to have our kindergartners back. So hopefully going forward, we can soon get the junior high and the senior high students. We're going to push for that. And I want to thank the parents for their cooperation because I know it's been a difficult time. It's been a difficult time here trying to work through all the regulations that keep being thrown at us and they change all the time. But we want your students back. We want them all back as soon as possible. Thank you. Dr. Prieto?
I want to echo Sharon's comments. I also want to thank the faculty and the administration. A lot of pieces had to be put together in a very short period of time. We're still building certain aspects of the program and getting things together for our students. And hopefully we'll have everything up and running and ready to go for tomorrow morning. And we'll also be adding things and finishing off pieces as we move through the first couple of days of school. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. It's going to happen. Let's make the best of it.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.